required to settle give and take. No rebirth required to settle give and take when you go higher. You can be no rebirth and final liberation by one merged with God. That's a higher monotheistic. You become one with God in their way, moksha. But that's still a lot of atta, or self, which Buddhism says. We don't look at that way because everything but soulless. So atheistic, like in Buddhism say, everything exists of dependent arising from ignorance or not knowing the truth. You have mental impulse, and you have consciousness is corrupted, and you have thoughts or nama rupa. You have biased thoughts. Six sense sphere is biased in your perception. You have contact, feeling, craving, clinging to the thought, and you become the thought. You're born into the thought, and rising of the thoughts, and then die down. You're suffering when you don't get what you want, or got what you don't want. So end up a vicious cycle and go into that again until you see and embrace the truth that they are imperfect, they are impermanent, they are selfless in nature. So the Buddha said to be born as a human being is a rare phenomenon. To be born as a human is rare. To live an easy life is rare. You don't have to tell me that. To hear the Buddha's teaching, even rare. The existence of a Buddha is even a rare phenomenon. It's like, and to be heedful is a path of staying alive. To be reckless is the path of death. Heedful person is still alive. Reckless person is already dead. Even though they're still alive here, they're already dead because they'll do things recklessly. So the reason I show this is a story about the turtle, a blind turtle that will resurface every 100 years. And he will come up to the loop that's being thrown in the ocean. And he will come perfectly. And the wind was kind of swaying this loop. Just like a lifesaver loop. It's kind of, what do you call it? A lifesaver.
Lifesaver.
That's all.
Yes.
And you come up in the middle of the
ring, life-saving ring. Yeah.
Right, a ring. In the middle of a ring. Despite the wind is blowing left and right, north and south. But it turned out that's applied for people who are bad. People who are bad. They commit bad crime and bad deed, harm other people. Then it's be hard to be born as a human being again. But human being, if you have 5 precepts, you qualify to be born as a human being. That's the nature of human. A true human being have refrained from killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying, and from intoxicant. So we're talking about a physical aspect, how human evolved. We're talking a lot about mind. Now we're talking about human being. From apes, are we ape? We're one of them, but we have common ancestors, but we're not direct descendant from the ape. At one point, they're hominoid, like they're Neanderthal. There was also Homo sapien and so on, and there are different types that exist at the same time. At least 4 of them at one point. Homo erectus died about 1.3 million years ago. The common ancestor between us and human and other apes. We become like upright. Okay, Homo heidelbergensis, about 600,000 to 400,000 years ago. These are common ancestors between us and Neanderthal. Show you how they look like. And then Homo neanderthal. They're very successful. They can track back 200,000 years, but then they disappeared 30,000 years ago. They migrated to Europe before us. Okay, you see the skull a little flat in the front. They don't have a lot of brain in there, and their brain kind of encased by the skull, which doesn't grow anymore, doesn't expand. So the way they invent tools too. So they went to Europe before, like 200,000 years ago. They live as community. But the gene have found it. We never mingle with them. So they have their own genes. 99% similar to us. They also invent tools. They have spears, And they have a wide-based spear made of like volcanic rock. Okay, and they chisel it off and became sharp tools. And they're used for hunting. But they're heavy because they're blunt-headed. See, wide-based, blunt-headed. So they use a spear. So it's kind of like short distance fighting or killing. And they work in groups. And they usually die at 35 years old, not beyond it. A lot of broken bones. You know why? So they fight and kill at close distance. Big animal, you get killed. But not necessarily so. We found a lot of rabbit bones. You don't have to kill a big animal, but you can't resist big animal or try to defend yourself too. So, and they always stuck with that tool, never advanced, because that's their brain capability. And then Homo sapien, which is us, came out of Africa a little bit later. We live in Africa, now they trace back, there's some tool dated back 350,000 years. Doesn't mean like we could develop coinciding with the Neanderthal, but we didn't come out of Africa until later on. Now we know all human beings come out of Africa, you like it or not. They say, how can you change your color so fast? Because the temperature, climate, you don't have a lot of sun in Europe, a lot of ice. So you kind of lose your skin pigment real fast because you don't have to defend yourself against cancer of the skin and so on. And we propagate very far, not only to Europe, to like Kyrgyzstan, that's where we have trouble here. That's where they found like people stayed there 40,000 years ago. Many generations, thousands of generations there. And they propagate to, they come out through the bottom of India. They go to the coast there, India, and down to southern Thailand, where you see the red color there, and Malaysia and Indonesia. They're still a type of pygmy. Look like African people, small size, very dark skin, curly hair, because Semang, Mokpa Semang, Sakai, Mokapa Sakai. In southern Thailand, they're still existing. So they found, so some of them come through the Bering Strait and come to America about 15,000 years ago, the last ice age. We're still connected with the ice age. Why do they come here? I think they follow the reindeer. That's their food. The reindeer can live, eating on the moss. When you go to Norway, the northern part, to see the midnight sun, the only thing they grow there is moss. And you see reindeer there. I think they populate there, it's not natural. So, and they have like herd of reindeer there. And then they can survive. They probably follow the reindeer and go across the Bering Strait, come down here, and they populate to the Mayan